What is up, y'all? We're back with another video. Today we're gonna be talking about Mafia Old Country. We just got that trailer released to us at the 2024 Game Awards, and I was so excited. It was actually my favorite release of the night. So before we get into it, definitely smash the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Now, I really kind of just focused on this trailer and kind of looked at a lot of things and did some research on Mafia Old Country. And I want to start off by saying I'm so excited for this game, but it's going to be different from the previous entries in the Mafia franchise, being that we heard in an interview with the creators and everything on IGN that this will be different, like completely different. It will have like its connections to the previous ones, but starting with things like this, if you notice in the trailer, the main protagonist, his name is Enzo. The guy, he looks younger with the dark hair. That's Enzo. He's the main protagonist who we're following through this trailer, and we're seeing him be initiated into like a gang or a mob or something, like a mafia. You know what I'm saying? So pushing forward, we're seeing him, you know, going up against these enemies with combat with weapons being like switchblades. We see him at a point do, you know, have a gun, but it's nothing like how the other mafias was. It was like Tommy guns and shit like that. Like Mafia 3 has shotguns, and it seems like this one is going to be more melee, you know, where it's going to be like just weapons with blades and things like that. But you're going to get a point, I want to say, that you're going to get guns, and we hear about that in interviews. But like I said, we're going to be following Enzo and him being initiated into this mob, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be have to be a blueprint or something he has to follow, where he actually is going to have to stay in direction with the other mobsters and stuff like that. And in place in the 1900s of Sicily, where they actually, the team ended up going out to Sicily to kind of scope out areas for the game and kind of seeing like, is this the place where they want to go? Because they said before they actually wanted to do Mafia Old Country, they wanted to make sure the setting was right, the atmosphere. So they actually took a trip out to doing, you know, this game and kind of scoping out areas to place in this game. So that was a lot of dedication. But pushing forward, over on IGN, we hear that Alex Cox says, yeah, sure, the trailer's themed around Enzo's initiation. He's been initiated into the tourist crime family. The Don, the guy that's cutting his lip, is the crime boss, and he's the guy who Enzo answers to in this game. Enzo starts in a very humble way. He starts his story in Sicilian sulfur mines. They were a hidden history, I suppose, to some extent for people, but there was this sulfur mining in a particular using very young children. They were known as Caruso, were a feature in the 19th century and the 20th century in Sicily. There's a lot of people involved there. So that's Enzo's backstory. He grows up effectively in a very harsh and uncaring environment, and then he escapes from that early in our story and then finds his way into the mafia in ways that will be revealed. And he's obviously come from a very humble background. So the mafia offers him an opportunity to make something of himself, earn some status of respect. He's come from the really lowest strata of Sicilian society at the beginning of the story. He's really determined to do anything it takes to get something for himself and make something for himself. I think he's going to be a real fan favorite. He's got a very unique backstory compared to the other protagonists in the Mafia stories. Enzo is some kid who's been very deprived in his childhood. He's literally had no family at all, and he stumbled across the family. So it's a very interesting journey as a player watching him experience this, going through that with him. It's quite a familiar but fresh take on the rags to riches mob movie story. Something that we wanted to do with the story generally is make sure that we're comparing and contrasting with some of the American mafia stories that we've done and people will be familiar in other media. And then Enzo as our opportunity to go and explore that. But through Sicily back in the day, around the time when Sicilian Mafia was created, at the height of its influence back in the 19th to 20th century. So basically, like I said, we're going to be following this guy named Enzo, and it seems like he's coming from a bad background, a bad place in the world where he was basically like just down bad at his lowest, and they're trying to give him an opportunity by initiating him in the mob and letting him get some respect and earn some stripes in Sicily in the 1900s. So he basically is a younger guy. They're saying that out of all the protagonists in the Mafia, you know, stories, this might be the best one, which I think is going to be interesting because in the trailer we kind of see him having like, I think like a love life or something like that, and he's like going up against people with switchblades. You could tell he's like a younger guy, and this is also a prequel. So this is a prequel to the Mafia franchise, being like to take place in the 1900s. But pushing forward, like I said, it's going to be very different. They even at a point talk about this game not even being too open world like your normal Mafia game. I mean, Mafia's never been like too open open world like Grand Theft Auto. You got activities on the corners, you got everything going on, you can do like side missions. No, this, they're kind of giving you like a straightforward direction, like you have to do this with Enzo, complete this mission, because they said they wanted to tell a story with Mafia Old Country. They wanted to get you invested by telling a story and having you connect and invested in characters, and they didn't want you kind of losing, you know, just the focus and going off and around, just driving around. I mean, you're probably gonna have, you know, a little bit of accessibility to do that, but overall they want you to focus on the story because that's where they put everything at, in the story. Now, I'm pretty sure that this environment in Sicily is gonna be amazing because those sunsets we seen in the trailer, those scenes when they're outside, like the ancient like walls and the gold wallpapers and shit like that. I cannot wait to see what happens, you know, when I'm playing this on PlayStation 5 and 4K and seeing how it looks. I love that scene. I think someone kind of gets like took away from, like, they're like in a theater or something. You can see like these big curtains. Maybe I'm tripping, but it looked so detailed. But I'm letting you guys know, first off, we're going to be following Enzo and his initiation and him being inserted into the mob, but it's not going to be like the other mafias. It's going to be very different. It's going to have a different feel to it. It takes place in the 1900s. And I want to talk about what they actually just talked about in this interview with the open world factor of Mafia Old Country, saying that Nick Bain said, the way I describe it is, you're not going to be playing Mafia, the old country, and going off and doing endless side quests and doing activities in the world. We want players to go through and experience a story, but set in this beautiful world. And if you're going along a path you want to go over in here and explore, in many cases you can do that because the world exists around you, but we're encouraging you to go through the story. One of the things I love about these games is people tend to complete them because they want to find out what happens again and again and again. This is a trend with this game as well. We want people to go through and experience the whole story, but if you were going to say it's not open world, it's purely linear, that sounds too tight. But if you're going to say it's an open world game, that's too broad. That's why we're trying to lead you back into Mafia 1 and 2. Open world is a very loaded term. It's a conversation we have had many times in terms of should we use this word or not, and the answer is kind of yes and no. I hope that helps you. So basically, like he's saying, it's gonna be, you know, a little open world, but the main direction is just straightforward with the story with Enzo and everything, with him getting his stripes and earning his respect in Sicily, probably going, you know, against other mobsters and going up against other things that happened in the 1900s in Sicily. So it looks like they did a lot of research on this place to get the game feeling, you know, grounded and everything. Overall, I'm so excited for what I've seen in this trailer. Like I said, the protagonist seems very interesting. The story synopsis seems great. You know, everything going on with Enzo and him being initiated and stuff like that, and just me kind of getting, you know, a steady understanding about what's about to happen in Mafia Old Country. Overall, everything I've seen in the trailer, the graphics, everything looks very crisp and sharp, and I cannot wait to play Mafia Old Country, releasing the year of 2025 in the summer. So I'm so prepared for that. Possibly the bridge to get us to GTA 6. I cannot wait. Comment down below what you guys think about everything we just talked about with Mafia Old Country. How do you feel about the new protagonist, Enzo? How did you feel about the trailer? How did you feel about it taking place in the 1900s? Comment down below. Unfortunately, this is the end of the video. I want y'all to hit me up on all my social medias at DesBStan, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.